Hey guys, this is Riser Arkin, or at least that's what I use with a lot of my gaming profiles and tags. So, today we're going to talk about Eldlitch, and we're going to talk about Red Eye's Dark Dragoon because... Let's go for the main deck first, and I'm doing this deck profile just a little differently because we're going to talk about Red Eye's Dark Dragoon and possibly running Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. But first, let's get into Eldlitch, and we're going to start off with the main deck. And this is going to be a little different because I'm kind of going engine by engine. So we're going to be running 3 Eldlitch the Golden Lord, which, in my opinion, 3 is the only correct number. 3 Cursed Eldland. This card's awesome because you can pay 800 life points in order to grab either a Golden Lord or Eldlitch himself. So a Golden Land, card from your deck, or Eldlitch himself. Then, when this card leaves the field, by using Eldlitch's effect, which Eldlitch has a great effect, you can send him and a spell card to the graveyard to send another card on the field. He can resurrect himself by popping one of your back row, sending it back to the hand so you can skip out on certain grave effects, and then you can summon him out for 1,000 attack and defense more, and then can't be destroyed by card effects. That lasts until your opponent's end phase. This is good because when you pop it with his effect, you can send a Golden Land spell or trap from the deck to the graveyard. Then we have 2 Elixir of White Destiny, which is cool. Now, all of these lock you into zombies. I have to explain that. But what this does is you can special summon a zombie from the deck, from the graveyard or hand to the field, and it's a quick play. But like I said, all of these lock you either into, he doesn't lock you into anything, but either only summoning zombies or only summoning zombies for the rest of the turn. And then you have 3 Conquistadors of the Golden Land. When you have Eldlitch on the field, this will pop face-up cards. And same with Wakiro. Eldlitch has to be on the field for it, but he banishes cards from your opponent's graveyard. And we're running 2 Eldlixirs of Sanguine. This one grabs them from the deck or the graveyard. So this one's from hand or this one's from deck or. So I cut my ratios because, again, we're only running 3 Golden Lords, but I feel like this is the correct ratio. These will lock you into zombies, and we are playing with more than just zombies in this deck, so you kind of have to know when to play it. Moving on, we are playing one other kind of small engine. Well, we're playing 2 more small engines, and we're going to talk about this one first, is we are playing Dogmatikas. So Ecclesia, when she's normal or special summoned, she can grab another Dogmatika card from the deck. Once you use that effect, though, you're locked out of the extra deck, which this deck doesn't really care too much about the extra deck. However, all of them, well, 2 of them, can special summon themselves for free if there's an extra deck monster on the field. Fleur-de-Lis does the same thing, special summons herself out if there's an extra deck monster on the field, and with an added benefit, if there is another Dogmatika card on the field, she can negate 1 monster effect. And then we have Maximus. So these are our 3 that we're running here. Maximus, you can banish an extra deck monster from your graveyard in order to special summon him, and then he sends 2 extra deck monsters from your deck and your opponent's deck to the graveyard. And the reason why we're running him is actually to get to our window that we use. So we do use some Shadal stuff in here. We are running 2 Nadir Servant, which does allow you to grab a Dogmatika monster with equal or less than attack of an extra deck monster that you send to the graveyard from your extra deck. Of course, this locks you out of the extra deck. Dogmatika Punishment, we are running 2 because you can pop monsters on your opponent's field by sending monsters from your extra deck to the graveyard. There's a caveat to this one, because then you can't special summon from the extra deck until the end of your next turn, and it is an Ecclesia target. Nadir Servant can't be searched. So this deck kind of keeps you, or this engine keeps you out of the extra deck, but most of the time you're going to be playing on your opponent's turn anyway, and we are playing 1 Shadal Schism for that window. So now here's the next engine I want to talk about, because this engine, if I'm being honest, a lot of people are switching this engine out and around, and I want to talk about both of them kind of at the same time. So we have the Dragoon engine, which, as you know, is Dark Magician fused with Red Eyes, make Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So I'm running this in my deck because my opinion, and this is just unpopular opinion, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon has destruction and has targeting protection and gets stronger with every negate. It does cost you discarding a card, which that is one huge caveat to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. I will admit, because I need every single card I draw in this deck. Sometimes I can get away with discarding Eldlitch the Golden Lord himself. But now, if we're being honest, the new kid in town is Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. And his engine, 1 card bigger. I personally don't think you need to run a second Fusion Destiny, but we have the Fusion Destiny, which Red Eyes Fusion keeps you from summoning for the rest of the turn, unless you go into Predaplant Verde Anaconda, which may or may not get hit on this next list. Now, Denier's cool, because Denier, his fusion materials have to be a hero monster and a Destiny hero monster that's level 6 or higher. So, with him, he can special summon himself out in order to, if you've got a Destiny hero other than him on the field or in the graveyard, and then he can recycle one of your banished or one of your banished Destiny hero monsters to the top of the deck, which comes in handy for Malicious. So if you were to switch the engines around, again, my opinion, I don't think you need a second Fusion Destiny. I think that is just a little much, because now all you can do is special summon dark heroes for the rest of the turn. Yes, and unlike Red Eyes Fusion, you can do all of your big summons and then play Fusion Destiny, but all of your fusion spells in this deck really are searchable, and there's only one that I play multiples of, just in case I need it right away. I don't think you need a second Fusion Destiny, but if you wanted to, I guess you could put that in. But that's my answer to these 2 engines right here. And I do prefer Dragoon over Phoenix Enforcer, even though Phoenix Enforcer, when he's destroyed by card effect, he can resurrect himself, and then You can target one of your hero monsters on the field, which usually people use him, and another card on the field and pop it, which is great with a lot of people use Artifact Scythe with him to lock your opponent out of the extra deck. He's good, and he does destroy stuff, but he can be outed and banished once he uses his effect. I feel like Dragoon is really the answer, my opinion. But I wanted to let you guys know these are the two engines that you can run. However, this is the engine I'm running currently for that. So I don't think we'll talk about him again in the extra deck. Now, since we are running a trap stun, we're going to go through and talk about the traps. But first, I want to talk about Super Poly, because I feel like Super Poly does stop a lot of problem cards. And I have 4 Super Poly targets in this deck. Here's the thing, though. Just because I have 4 in the deck doesn't mean they're readily available in the extra deck right now. I actually have 2 sided, and I have 2 in the actual extra deck currently. So we're running 2 super polymerizations. This is going to get incredibly long. 3 skill drains. Skill drain, pay 1,000 life points. Neither you or your opponent can activate monster effects on the field. That's the reason why skill drain is so good in Eldlitch deck, because he does have an effect in the hand. 3, there can only be 1. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm only running 6 playable monsters in the deck. 2 are bricks, or possibly 8 playable monsters, and no bricks there, but that's a thing. Torrential Tribute. After you, whenever a summon occurs, you can destroy the whole field. I like Torrential Tribute. 2 Infinite Impermanence, and if I'm being honest, these are the only hand traps that I run in the main deck, but we'll go through the side as well. Of course, I'm running 1 Judgment. What would this deck be without 1 No? 2 Solemn Strike. 2 Crackdown. And an Ice Dragon's Prison, and a joke card, Magical Cylinder. So, Solemn Judgment, spell card or trap card is played, or a summon is going to occur, pay here half of your life points to say no to it. Solemn Strike, your opponent tries to special something or use a monster effect, pay 15, say no to it. Crackdown, target a monster on your opponent's field, it becomes yours, it can't attack or activate effects, that's fine. Ice Dragon's Prison, target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it. You can then banish a target on your field plus a monster with the same attribute as it on your opponent's field at the same time. Magic Cylinders, Return to Sender. I love this deck. That's it for the main deck, though. Let's go ahead and get into the extra deck. So we've talked about this guy to like the ends of the earth, so I don't think we need to tell you more on what he does. He pops opponent's monsters, non-targeting destruction, and he can't be destroyed or targeted by a card effect, and he gets stronger every time you negate something on the field, and it destroys the card by discarding from your hand. El Shaddai Ap Colone. So, she is what you're trying to send off with Maximus, so that you can get Shaddai Schism to your hand. The only caveat is you have to discard from your hand. So what you do is you discard the Shaddai Schism, and then you use El Shaddai construct to recur it from your graveyard. Because when she's sent to the graveyard, period, she recurs a Shaddai card. And of course, everyone's best girl, Winda, which, I mean, there's lots of mid-range decks, so she doesn't always come up, but she's really good for when things come up. You can use her in order to stop them from special summoning. It does stop you from special summoning, but this deck doesn't really care too much about more than the first special summon. Also, a lot of people don't know this, but she cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Elder Entity Entis. Really the only effect you're using her for, sending it from the extra deck to the graveyard to pop a card on the field. That's literally what she's here for. And she's a great Maximus target, she's a great Nadir Servant target, or a Dogmatika punishment target. Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon, again, because we're not running Albaz, he's really good just to get your Dogmatika cards into your hand at the end phase. This is another Maximus target. Now I want to talk about these, because I've got the two right here, Super Poly targets. I've got Mud Dragon of the Swamp, which is two monsters with the same attribute but different types, which a lot of people have tribal decks. And Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, which are two dark monsters. Dark is still one of the better attributes of the format. That's it for the fusions. Going on to the exceeds, we have Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, 2 level 10s. You can detach a material from this guy and do 2,000 points of burn damage. And then this guy, Super Dreadnought Cannon Juggernaut Libe. He's cool because you can overlay him directly onto any level 10 or rank 10 Earth machine. Then you can detach a material. He can now attack with 6,000 attack instead of 4,000 attack. And for every material on him, he can throw another additional attack. This is your OTK machine with your Eldlitch the Golden Lord if ever you need it. It is a one-shot kill. And links, we are running Artemis the Moon Maiden, the Magistus Moon Maiden. Really, you're using her to link off your Ecclesia to get out any of your other Dogmatika card, well, really fleur-de-lis if necessary. She's really just a flex spot, to be honest. Protoplant Verde Anaconda, of course. Copy a fusion material, fusion spell from your deck to the graveyard, pay 2,000 life points, and summon it. You're not just using this for Red Eyes Fusion, you can use this for Super Polymerization as well. Celine, Queen of the Master Magicians. She is here for our access code talker because she is a 1-card access code. You use a spellcaster and 2 other monsters, and then boom, for every spell active on the field or in either player's graveyard, she gets a counter. You remove 3 counters. She can take a spellcaster and summon them in defense position, which is great for this man, access code talker, because now she has your material and her to link into him. He becomes 5,300. What he actually does is, and you can't respond to his effects, is he targets a link monster in the graveyard and gains attack times 1,000 based on their link rating. That's why she's a 1-card access code. Then you can banish different attributes from the graveyard to destroy cards on the field. It is destruction, but it is non-targeting. And then I am playing one Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess, because there are times where I feel like I do need 5 or 4 monster negates. The meta right now is absolutely rampant with just nutty decks, and a lot of it isn't always monster effects either. Now for the side, because we run so many different traps, every trap really can be a flex spot. So we're running 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring to stop our opponent from sending cards, grabbing cards, or special summoning cards from the deck. We're running 2 Ghost Ogre, which she's really awesome because if a face-up card uses its effect, she can just pop it by discarding it. This is great for Brave. I have been on this card since just before Brave came out, and it really does hurt Brave so much because they have to have their cards on the field. I am also running 2 Nibiru. I feel like this is one of the higher impact hand traps of the meta, but a lot of people are running mid-range. This really is good for prank kids, like no joke. 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. I'm not really running it in the main because if I do run into a Mystic Mine, I have so many traps to make their day horrible. Usually they're gonna want to out their own Mystic Mine. Like, that's not even a thing. I am running 2 Cosmic Cyclone. Pay 1,000. Banish a back row. Get them to round 2, you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm running Wiretap and Red Reboot. These are limited to 1 right now. 1 you can play directly from the hand, and what it does is it negates the activation of a trap and then sets it back down. You cannot play trap cards for the rest of the turn. Your opponent. Wiretap, what that does is it negates the activation, and then you when a trap card is activated, negate the activation, and if you do, shuffle that card back into the deck. So not only do they not get the added benefit of, let's say they are running Eldlitch, well, all of my golden, for example, golden land like Conquistador has an effect where I can banish it from my graveyard in order to grab a example, Eldlixir from my deck and set it. Ash can't stop that. Well, why do we run Wiretap? Because instead of negating it and sending it to the graveyard just for them to be able to use the secondary effect, no, let's send it back to the deck. Forget them. Now, let's talk about these other 2 Super Poly targets. You've seen me use them before. Predaplant, Dragon Stop, that guy. Uses a fusion monster and a dark monster, which again, dark is the best attribute of the format right now because you have Destroyer, Phoenix, Enforcer, so on and so forth. And then World Chalice Guard Dragon Armaduke, which 3 links. His material is 3 links. Prank Kids. Phantom Knights. You've got a couple of link heavy decks in the format. He's good for it. Now, normally I would be doing a combo video for all of my decks that I do. You really can't do a combo video with this deck, mainly because it really does 100% rely on your opponent. It's very reactionary, whereas your opponent has to react to what you're doing and you're reacting to them. There's a lot of interaction in this deck, but knowing when to play your cards is really important. My suggestion is really read your opponent's strategies. Like I said, Prank Kids, Fluunderees, and Phantom Knights, anything that can run a Brave engine right now is really strong. Despia is incredibly strong right now. These are cards that this deck actually does out, but your opponent can bait you. And that's the thing. You have to be several steps ahead of your opponent. My opinion, and I've never said this, research the meta, know what you're going up against, and try to figure out your choke points. The reality is, this deck does have choke points. I'm not going to talk about them because I'm going to be competing with this deck. But, you know, banishment hurts this deck a lot if you banish certain cards. And I'm not running the card to recycle my banish cards at the moment because I don't know if you guys were counting. Depending on which build you're doing, that is either a 48 or 49 card build. And it is possible to brick with a trap stun. But let us know what you would like to see. We're going to try to do 2 deck profiles a week and have a live duel on our other channel, our sister channel, our team channel, Team Ghost Gang, between the 2 decks that we review. I want you all to have a really wonderful day, and until then, it's your move.